Good morning. Thank you for joining us. It's Tuesday, February 6th, our first board meeting in February, and I'd like to ask for a roll call to establish quorum, please.
Supervisor Christie.
Here.
Supervisor Hines.
Present.
Supervisor Lee.
Present.
Supervisor Scott.
Here.
Chair Grijalva.
Here.
Let the record show all board members are present.
Thank you. For the Pledge of Allegiance, can I ask Andrea Altamirano to come up? I do want to say a couple things about you as you're coming up. So Andrea is a training and education coordinator, the Pima County Health Department. Andrea has worked for Pima County for 30 years. She started when she was in elementary school, right? Yeah, really, yeah. And during that time, she's worked in several county departments, including our District 5 office. She will be retiring on February 9th and will begin a new career working for the City of Tucson Department of Transportation's Neighborhood Traffic Management Program. Andrea plans to continue to advocate for mental health and teach mental health aid and adverse childhood experiences as those lie near and dear to her heart. And we just want to thank you so much. Thank you for being here first. And thank you so much for all of your service to Pima County. And we're going to give you a round of applause too. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Thank you for this opportunity. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic in which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Yeah, so stay right there. Hello. Oh, there it is. We have a little certificate for you from Pima County. It's a retirement certificate. And I think you're the only one, you're the first person getting this. And it's presented to Andrea Altamirano for 30 years of service. I want to thank you so much for everything you've done for Pima County. And we also have Ruben Reyes from Congressman Grijalva's office here to give you a little award. Thank you.
Andrea, I really can't say here today what Raul wanted to say, other than you definitely are, 30 years in the county. You are. It is a testament of your commitment and determination to the county, to your family, and of our age. But without any further ado, Raul definitely wanted to recognize you. He says a certificate of special congressional recognition is presented to Andrea Zina Altamirano for 30 years of service to Pima County. Si se puede, Congressman Raul Grijalva. Congratulations.
Hold your certificate. Do you want to say something?
Sure.
Okay.
Zena was a name he first gave me when I first met him at the board office.
Princess Warrior.
I just want to say thank you to Pima County, the board. Everyone's been amazing to me in this whole 30 years. I started when I was 12. But I just wanted to say thank you so much. It's been amazing. Blessings to everyone. Keep posted on mental health first aid because that's where my heart is. Thank you. Hey.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. And next we have the land acknowledgement read by Desiree Cook, founder and executive director of IMU 360. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Pima County residents, we honor the tribal nations who have served as caretakers of this land from time immemorial and respectfully acknowledge the ancestral homelands of the Tohono O'odham Nation and the multi-millennial presence of the Pasco Yaqui tribe within Pima County. Consistent with Pima County's commitment to diversity and inclusion, we strive toward building equal partner relationships with Arizona's tribal nations.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. And can you tell us a little bit about IMU 360 and where people can get some information if they'd like to?
Sure. So IMU 360 is a 501c3 nonprofit. We provide wraparound services and customized services for our underserved, such as foster care and the unhoused. We provide housing, which is ending with a home ownership program, so that we can actually have better outcomes for our underserved population. Those are the ones that are slipping through the cracks of society. So it is up to us to sew them back into the fabric of the community and create taxpayers, whole-heeled people in our community, and lower the crime rate. So this population is not forgotten. We are making sure that they are seeing themselves as worthy despite their traumas. They're in situations that are no fault of their own. So it really takes us to invest in this particular population, because we all win. We all win in Pima County when we do better by this particular population. So please visit our website. It is imu360.org. IMU360 was started because of my personal lived experiences in having children in foster care due to my drug addiction, as well as being unhoused. So I'm taking my lived experiences now and using it as a clear lens to serve the community and my team. We have been nationally recognized. We've been awarded and trailblazing with this forward-thinking concept of holistically approaching our underserved population, again, for a better outcome. So we all must do our part.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being here and for all the work you do. And now we're on pause for pause.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Monica Dangler. I am the director at Pima Animal Care Center, and today we have brought Dinah. She's a really sweet girl. She thinks she's a cuddle bug and likes to kiss you, so I'm covered in white fur. But she came into the shelter about a week ago. She wasn't reclaimed by her owners, and she's now waiting for somebody to adopt her. So I'm really surprised she's been in the shelter a week for as cute and sweet and lovable as she is, and she's even great with other dogs, so yay. Also, just so you guys know, 2023 PAC have performed exceptionally compared to other shelters in the rest of the country. We met our benchmark of a 90% live release rate, which is amazing. There's only 2 other large municipal shelters in the country that made that benchmark. January, we continue to be challenged, like every shelter in the country, with access to care, for veterinary care for animals, and access to pet-inclusive housing. But we're working on it, and we're doing great things. One of our February activities that are going on is our Tucson Subaru Pets of Pima Parade. We're really excited. This is put on by, or a fundraiser for our Friends of PAC group that's our nonprofit partner. And all funds go to help the pets in the shelter either stay with their families through our Keeping Families Together program, our pet support program, or through our clinic operations to help those pets that are surrendered due to lack of affordable vet care. So we're really excited to have that parade. We hope to see you guys there. If not, it will also be televised, so you don't have to miss it. And it's going to be a great time. Every year it gets bigger and better. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and now we have agenda adjustments.
Okay, on the addendum agenda, page 1, item 1, executive session regarding a construction dispute near 8702 East Broadway Boulevard, and the executive session on page 1, item 2, regarding an update on the Lewis Taylor case with outside counsel. Both these items will be heard at a time certain of 11 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have staff here for item number 13 and 35. So I'm wondering if we can go ahead and move those up after call to the public. And if there isn't any objection to that, we'll go ahead and adjust the agenda accordingly. And now Supervisor Christie has requested a point of
Yes,
personal
thank you,
privilege.
Madam Chair. I don't want to be accused of being like Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and not being completely transparent about health issues. But some of you have noticed I've been using this extra appendage to ambulate, and the reason for that is I have to have hip surgery at the end of the month. But we learned a lot of remote items and broadcasts during the pandemic, and that's how I will always be on the leash. And our staff will continue to do constituent services. Tom Bresney down in Green Valley, Lucretia Free out in Vale and the southeast region, and of course Beth Borazon in our office will run things there, as well as the Tanque Verde Valley and Mount Lemmon. I don't foresee being out long as far as recovery, but I'm looking forward to it, and I appreciate the questions, but now you know the answer. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and we all wish you a speedy recovery.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're on to call to the public, and we have 13 speakers, and so every speaker will have 3 minutes. Citizens attending the meeting shall observe rules of propriety, decorum, and good conduct. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, or who becomes boisterous while addressing the board may be removed by the sergeant at arms if directed by the chair. Such person may be barred from further audience before the board. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stomping of feet, whistling, yells, or similar demonstrations shall not be permitted by the chair, who may direct offenders from the hearing room. And with that, we have 16 speakers. So I'll call you in groups of 3, and if you can come up and sit in the row in front, that would be great. Lori Moore, Don Hales, and Sharon Green. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 2 stuck together. I apologize. It's Lori Moore, Gisela Aaron, Don Hales, and then Sharon Green.
Good morning. My name is Laurie Moore. I wrote a poem that was inspired by the Democrats on this board, and it is titled, If You Voted Blue. So when I say the word blue, do not think of color. I want you to think of a socialist, communist, Marxist, progressive Democrat, or Dems for short. Okay, let's go. If you voted blue, shame on you. If you voted blue, let's see how things are working out for you. If you voted blue, high property taxes and out-of-control spending is a result of you. If you voted blue, the invasion on the southern border is because of you, and the cleanup should be too. If you voted blue, prioritizing the illegals over the homeless and mentally ill is what you do. If you voted blue, motels and land grabs in Pima County to house illegals is okay by you. If you voted blue, the funding of unvetted illegal aliens was voted for by you. If you voted blue, $2.5 million for a half mile of road repair was approved by you. If you voted blue, the high crime rates, no cash bail, and no time served because of the appointment of Laura Conover was voted in by you. If you voted blue, the mandatory masks, vaccines, and shutdowns for 2 years was caused by you and the appointment of Teresa Cullen, too. If you voted blue, the takedown of Pima County is because of the Dems on this board and their relatives, too. If you voted blue, do you plan to undo the damage brought on by you? If you voted blue, conservative Pima County voters will be challenging you. If you voted blue, but your party has left you, become a conservative for a better point of view. If you have heard everything I said, vote out the blue and vote in the red. Thank you.
Gisela Aaron.
Good morning. My name is Gisela Aaron. I have not prepared a speech today. I just would like to speak from the heart. I would like to ask you, do you love America? Do you love America? If you do, you would not participate with the invasion on the border. You would not participate in doling out our taxpayer money in the millions to take over this country, and you would vote differently or do things differently. I appeal to you to think about that, what you're doing. I've called you out in the past, and I called it treason because that's what I think it is. If you go against if you go against the Constitution, if you go against the people, what the people would like, I, as a compassionate human being, would love to welcome people, but legally, let's do it legally. I came here legally, and I hope that the people that are coming here, that they learn about the country, love the country like I do, learn about the Constitution, the laws, and participate, get elected if they so choose, or live the American dream. I have been able to. I've worked very hard all my life to be able to afford everything I have. But I'm very worried that things are going down the drain because you are spending like drunken sailors. And I appeal to you, Ms. Lesher, don't take the raise if they are voting to give you a raise, because you're laying off people because of the budget and all. I know it's a lot to ask, but think about it, please. And also, I think the voting machines are illegal because we can't see what's inside the machine. You're not allowing us to see the cast vote records. And so there's no oversight. The people have a right to see a transparency, to see what's going on. And that's not guaranteed. So please think about doing the right thing. Thank you.
Keith Don Hales. And followed by Sharon Green, Ralph Polo, and Becky Ruth.
Hi, Don Hales, and I'm in District 5. Subject is election integrity. The signature verification process performed at the Recorder's Office on South Country Club Ballot Processing Center is flawed. The poll workers do a great job, but the process doesn't work. The first two levels of verification reject a statistically significant number of signatures. But all of them, the rejected affidavits, are then allowed in curing. In curing, the workers first call the voter with the phone number on the affidavit, but not on the registration. A new registration form is then mailed to the voter to update the signature. The ballot is immediately tabulated, even though the signature does not match. There is no follow-up, so the vote counts, and it can happen again. There is a simple fix. The process already in place for unsigned affidavits, the blanks. The voter should be required to come to the recorder's office and produce ID for his vote to count. 26 states in the U.S. have no curing process. Once again, Arizona voters that get it right are disenfranchised. Please consider making a public comment. Thank you.
Sharon Green,
Would you take this?
if you can give it to the staff to the right. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today I'd like to share with you a speech given by the President of Argentina's rallying cry, the true philosophy of individualism. Javier Milei's speech was given to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland in January 2024. This is a summary of his speech. Today I'm here to tell you that the Western world is in danger, and it's in danger because those who are supposed to defend the values of the West are co-opted by a vision of the world that inexorably leads to socialism and thereby to poverty. Unfortunately, in recent decades, motivated by some well-meaning individuals willing to help others and others motivated by the desire to belong to a privileged class, the main leaders of the Western world have abandoned the model of freedom for different versions of what we call collectivism. We are here to tell you that collectivist experiments are never the solution to the problems that afflict the citizens of the world. Rather, they are the root cause. His message concluded with a challenge for all those with a good work ethic. We must not be intimidated either by the political caste nor by parasites who live off the state. We will not surrender ourselves to a political class that only wants to perpetuate itself in power and keep their privileges. We should be the creators of the most extraordinary period of prosperity we have ever seen. Let no one tell us that our ambition is immoral. If we make money, it's because we offer a better product at the best price, thereby contributing to the general well-being. We must not yield to the advance of this globalist tyranny. The globalists and the WEF have a great plan for all of us, and none of us will win if they win. The state is not the solution. The state is the problem itself. We must stand up and lead for the benefit of all our legal citizens. Please use critical thinking to develop the best policies for all of us. And it is past time to close the border, to monitor it effectively, to let in legal immigrants who want to come here. Governor Abbott had the guts to start that process in Texas, and they have reduced their border invasion by thousands at Eagle Pass to a couple hundred or less. How about Arizona? When are we going to step up to the plate? Thank you.
Rep Polo.
Good morning. When I left the meeting last week, or 2 weeks ago, a homeless American saw me carrying my Bible, and he spoke to me. He said, "Sir, I've made mistakes. I had a family. I'm a veteran. And due to some of the decisions I've made, and things got bad for me, really bad. Do you have it in your heart? Do you have it in your heart, because you have the power to help these homeless Americans? They are Americans. They are not illegals from 187 countries. Most of them military age. And I can tell you, there's going to be problems. They're going to do something bad in not too distant future, and you have to stop them, because you have the power. Do not help the illegals. Help the Americans that need your help badly. I've been very fortunate. I was in the Navy for 20 years, and I pretty much got to travel the world. I know Central America, South America, Africa, and the Far East. I've been to all those places. And I can tell you that what's coming through, they don't want to be part of the melting pot. They want to live in their own enclaves, eat their own food, keep their own languages and culture. It's time to stop what many are calling an invasion, and it is an invasion. It's going to cost us all. Some of us here will lose family and friends to the guys that are here. I don't know if you've seen what's happening in New York City right now, when police officers got attacked and they were released. And one of them, when he was released, gave the salute to all. Look, I dedicated my life to fighting communism in the Navy, and then I was in the Central Intelligence Agency. But when that one woke, I retired. And I'm an immigrant.
Becky Ruth, followed by Tracy Toland, Corey Stevens, and Danny Howe.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Ruth. Mine's kind of different. I'm talking to you today about an invasion of solar panels. And so I gave you a letter that's up there, and I'm referring to this map here so you guys could see what I'm talking about. This is regarding the Wilmot Energy Center Solar 2 solar farm on Wilmot and on Andrada. This is, I attended the NextEra Energy meeting in the Vale area, and I also attended the CEC hearings, and I would like to share my comments about this proposed project located on Andrada and Wilmot in Pima County. I am against this build. My number one concern about this solar farm project is the absolute death of infrastructure for 25 to 30 years on this land, on the designated areas on the maps that I'm showing you there. The blue is the solar farm areas. This is Diamond Ventures property that they are considering. They started this in 2022, and I wasn't aware until I went to the CEC hearings a couple of weeks ago, and I found out there that they had been working on this since 2022, and I had no idea. My property is the 70, 80, 81. The two little yellow rectangles there is my land that borders. It is a partial border on the north end. And another, for 25 years, those panels will be there and nothing will be able to be built. No stores, restaurants, parks, people, homes, gas stations, nothing. The solar farm will leave my area desolate for 30 years with no room left for infrastructure. The 8 acres that I have that partially border this project also border the BLM land, which is the light green area there. That is 1,500 acres. And I also found out at the CEC hearings that the BLM land is, this particular 1,500 acres is on a list of BLM properties that are being considered for sale by BLM. So I know NextEra Energy is not real forthcoming. They're a solar company from Florida, and it's difficult to get answers out of them. I know that they are building on 1,076 acres, and yet it takes 300 acres for a 100 megawatt solar farm. So what are they doing with the other 300 acres? When I asked them, they said, well, we're going to put a maintenance building on there. Well, that's okay for an acre, but what are you doing with the other 300 acres? And it's hard to find out. Diamond Acres does own the 716 acres that you see on the blue part of your map that's there. And very quickly, some of the things, well, Diamond Ventures on their website today says that this property is a 716 acre master plan community. They go on to describe what it's going to be and still have not been forthcoming. At the very end of your packet, beyond your letter.
Thank you.
Am I done? Okay.
Yeah, and we have your information.
Good.
So
Okay.
Thank you so much. We all
Thank you
have.
very much.
I can see
Thanks.
everyone has it. Thank you. Tracy Toland.
I first prepared a speech with lots of facts about the border invasion to try to convince you all to stop funding illegal immigration. But despite all the facts, this board continues on funding it. So since you can't be reasoned with or persuaded, I come here to ask a question. What happened to the 86,000 missing migrant children? And 86,000 is light. We know it's more now. No doubt they're all lost to the evil world of sex slavery. And you're handing out millions of dollars to Catholic Community Services and other NGOs. Have you asked them where they are? Has anyone from this board or the NGOs demanded answers from the federal government? And if so, is there any follow-up? Has Bishop Weissenberger asked where they are? He and the Catholic Church have no problem taking money for human trafficking, but there's no accountability for the hell this crisis is inflicting on our communities and thousands of innocent children. Where's the funding for an investigation to find these children? Or would starting an investigation admit we have a problem, a real problem with human trafficking? It's easy to cast a vote, but you don't have any accountability for what those votes are doing to society. Human trafficking is wrong. Child sex trafficking is wrong. It's evil. It's disgusting. And you, along with the Catholic Church, are supporting it. And I have another question. How many children have to be lost at the cost of this open border before you say enough? Is 86,000 not enough? How much evil should we tolerate so a selected group of people can come to America to better their economic life? How many children have to be sacrificed? That is what is happening. Think about that. You're accepting crimes, drugs, child sex slavery, so a chosen class of people who don't have legitimate asylum claims to be here can have an opportunity to better their lives in America, but at what cost? I don't want to fund it. I'm tired of my Catholic dollars going to it, and I'm tired of my tax dollars going to it. It's enough. Ask yourselves that. 86,000 children gone, just gone. Where are they?
Roy Stevens.
They say the devil is in the details. It's amazing the information one can find combing through these contracts. For instance, Pima County is processing 1,282 illegal immigrants per day through NGOs. That's 38,460 per month. Catholic Community Service volunteers are being paid $30+ an hour plus benefits such as health, life insurance, and pension benefits. We as taxpayers are reimbursing Catholic Community Services for the cost of such things as formula, diapers, wipes, and hygiene supplies. Today, a $5 million reimbursement to the city of Tucson for Suntran, hotel, motel, and illegals taking cabs. From what I understand, Adelita, and I would like confirmation, the federal limit on reimbursement per day is a max of $750 to $800. Let's go to agenda item number 19, Standback Septic Portable Restroom Rental. Restroom and showers to be provided at the Drexel facility for $150,000. Oh, those pesky details, Mrs. Lesher. The funding source states the American Rescue Plan Act and Stadium District funds. How much is distributed from each revenue source? Since Stadium Funds is a separate taxing district, you wouldn't want to commingle your finance reporting. I feel like this is accounting malpractice. Again, Catholic Community Services has $16 million in reserve funds, and yet the left on this board keeps forking money over to them. We are going to run out of federal funding, yet we keep giving money to them. We are going to run out of places to ship them to, and here we are giving them money hand over fist, and you all don't have the stones to say no to the federal funding. Our border is not secure. We are going to have a crisis. We are at September 10th, people. September 10th. Wake up, because September 11th is going to happen, and it is going to be on you. You all. Look at New York, because it's going to happen here. Wake up.
Danny Howe, followed by David Smith, Susan Taraba, and Robert Royce.
Hello and good morning. This is kind of fitting because every time you point the finger, just remember there's three pointing back at you. So, hello, my name is Danny Howe, the director of the Ernest House and founder of the Howe Project. We're a housing facility in town for men and women that are suffering homelessness, substance abuse issues, and reentering our community after incarceration. The reason that I'm here today is to speak against the building of a new jail. The survey that was presented to us was very misleading, and the questions were designed to fit the narrative that everyone is on board with building of the new jail. That couldn't be further from the truth, and although the current jail may need some improvements, the reason for the recent deaths and mistreatment of inmates has not been due to the facility itself, but rather the underpaid, and under-resourced staff. There needs to be more accountability and oversight with new trainings in place. We at the Ernest House are an example of what happens to people when given an alternative to jail or prison. Let me tell you about Norman. Norman came to us after serving 27 years in prison. While with us, he completed the culinary arts program through Gap Ministries at the top of his class and has reunited with his family and has remained out of trouble. Saritha came to us out of federal prison. She was arrested for drugs, theft, and a few other minor charges, but lost everything during the lowest moments of her life. After residing with us for a few months, she was able to secure multiple jobs, finish school, and got custody of her children and has since moved into her own home. Finally, I want to tell you about Corey. Corey came to us from the Pima County Jail through the Jail Population Review Program, which is ran through one of your departments. Corey was facing non-dangerous, non-violent felony charges. He came to us while he was going through the court process and was able to avoid jail time, which was not only a benefit to him, but to the benefit to our community as well. Corey's maintained employment, has been a role model to fellow residents, and was just sentenced to probation, avoiding jail and prison altogether. I tell you these stories because these are real people. These are just a few of our thousands of clients, and we do not need more jails and prisons. We need more opportunities and resources for people to gain new skills and not depleting the resources that we currently have. Thank you.
Thank you. David Smith.
Well, good morning, Board. Again, I'm Dave Smith, the chairman of the Pima County Republican Party. So I know that that doesn't bring joy to your hearts, but I have some real questions for you. What is the teleological end of this immigration to the United States, people illegally entering our borders? It's reached a point now, and I've talked to you in the past about the ethics of the lifeboat. If you have a lifeboat that's nearly full and more people swim up to it, there's that decision is how many more people can we take? Well, now Democratic leaders throughout major urban centers in the United States are beginning to complain more and more about the burden on them. I know the largesse of the government that is constantly being given to you seems as if this money is just manna from heaven, but it's not. It is the taxpayer's burden, which grows ever greater and greater as our national debt grows. And even now, people who we would consider on our side of the shop watching, the liberal economists, are really decrying what's happening. But here again, we're talking about another 8 million. We're going to do this program and that program for people who are not citizens, people who are not your accountability. You are accountable to the people of Pima County, and it's so important. Now, illegal immigration is way back in the administration of he wasn't a Republican. A guy named President Obama, 2014, had a study done on the devastating effects on the black community of illegal immigration. The way it damaged their wages, their lifestyle. 2014. And I'm going to tell you what, 2014, the illegal immigration was a trickle compared to what it is today. And today we see this massive influx of people, record-breaking day to day. And here it is, Black History Month, and we're not celebrating Black history, we're celebrating illegal immigrants damaging the black community, the working class, the lower skilled workers that are trying to enter. And this is the thing, when you study sociologically how people gain up through our system, they start at that base root. All of our people who came here as immigrants or from whatever population, they had to start in that initial skill acquisition. And then their children became managers, and their grandchildren became CEOs and presidents, and all these other things that we called the American dream, which were damaging. So I ask you, I challenge you, to think about what we're doing to the people of this community. We just had a fellow here talking about dealing with homelessness, dealing with the drug addicted. That should be our focus. So many of these homeless people are people that we should take care of, we should be concerned about, and can be healed, not incarcerated. And again, I will say one more time, a poorly run new jail is no better than a poorly run old jail. We have to fix the administration of our facilities. We need to focus on positive futures for our people. And remember, you're accountable to the Pima County residents. Thank you.
Susan Taraba.
Good morning, Board. This is an election year. I hope you remember that. Gisela, thank you so much for your words. And Rafe, wow. Those are two immigrants that you should be listening to. You should be listening to all the people that come up here and tell you, plead with you, beg with you to pay attention to what's going on at the border. The children, oh my gosh, I stood up here one time and I told you about how they're drugging them. and using them time and time again to look like a family, like they're coming across like a family. These children are kidnapped from somebody. They belong to somebody else, and they're being used and abused. Do you not care about that? Do you not care about the USA? Anyway, this is a election year. Please remember, we are keeping tallies on how you're voting. We are keeping score, and we will advertise what you're doing. We are going to let people know how you're voting, how you are facilitating these Catholic Services NGO people, how you are facilitating, facilitating the showers, the shelters, the clothes, the food, the phones. So we're going to let them know, and I hope you will be held accountable on Election Day.
Thank you. Robert Royce. Followed by Lana O'Brien, Christine Bauserman, and Keith Van Heineken.
I've got the numbers. This filing period for this year's November elections closes in 2 months. And we're going to be living with the results of this election for 4 years. And so I'm encouraging people to run for these offices, and I'm reading the numbers right now. If the director could show them off, please. Occasionally, for Supervisor District 1, Mr. Scott, you need 248 signatures. A Republican, Mr. Spain, or any other Republican needs 243. Libertarians need 122, and myself running as a independent Jeffersonian, I need 1,418 signatures, more than any other district-wide office. But that will put me on the November ballot, not the August primary. Supervisor District 2, we need a District 2 supervisor who is not a bully, does not slander people by calling them murderers, and has a respect for people's rights and taxpayer rights. The Democrat, Mr. Scott, needs 202 signatures. The Republican needs 151 if one is planning on running. Libertarians need 96, and Independent needs 1,116. District 3. Supervisor Grijalva needs 213. A Republican needs 188 to oppose her, and an independent 1,236. Supervisor District 4, 226 for the Democrat, 238 Republican, and 1345. Supervisor District 5, excuse me, I confused 3 with 5, Adelita. 228 for Adelita Grijalva. A Republican opponent needs 132 signatures and an independent 1,087. Countywide, the Democrats need 1,111, Republicans 951, and independent 6,201. That's too much. We need a prosecutor who cares more about the victims than the perpetrators. We need a assessor who actually assesses and doesn't just jack everybody's assessment up automatically every time somebody rehabs their house and sells it for too much money. Also, the treasurer and the sheriff. A Republican can get on the ballot for 951. Once again, 1111. Thank you very much.
Lana O'Brien. Lana O'Brien.
Good morning, I'm Lana O'Brien. I wanted to say at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, the county recorder requested additional early voting sites for the presidential preference election, which would not normally be needed, but per the county recorder's request, she would like to determine if the additional early voting sites would improve voting participation in some of the outlying areas in Pima County, and that request was approved. My concerns are the county recorder doesn't follow ARS or the election procedure manual for election workers. Specifically, the county recorder doesn't follow the two-person, two-party rule for election workers. In fact, most individuals working for elections with a recorder are not intermittent election workers, but rather her personal staff, permanent personal staff. Those staffers working in these early voting sites, as well as the early ballot processing center, represent the majority of Democrats, independents, and party not designated. Republicans only represent a small percentage of the Pima County Recorder election workers. Equally noteworthy, the recorder doesn't allow any observers at any of her early voting sites. I would say since adding the additional early voting sites for the presidential preference election is an experiment, then the Pima County citizens should have visibility to her experiment. This can be done by allowing observers at each of the voting sites, or alternatively, to have a live video feed at each of the early voting sites. If the recorder is unwilling to accommodate this simple request, then the Board of Supervisors can and should move early voting to the Elections Department, where they do follow ARS in the election procedure manual. Thank you.
Christine Bauserman.
Hello. I want to address number 13, your election worker compensation rates. In your chart, you have county and non-county employees. Your county employees are paid almost double what the non-county employees are paid, and this is for inspectors, marshals, various things. So I question that. First of all, aren't we already paying them to do their job, which is run the elections and recorders, and why do you have two classifications on that? Seemed kind of odd, and I think that addresses some of what Lena was saying, is we have this divide between the recorder's office and the elections office, even though they're both doing the exact same thing, which is running elections. Also, I was here last time, you had a lot of post-election reports in 2022. The Recorder's Office, the Elections Office, the GOP, your Election Integrity Commission, they addressed and brought up a lot of concerns, like the numbers didn't match of people who voted versus ballots who went out. So you define the problems, but we've never addressed how you're going to solve those problems. So right now, in the last couple of weeks, you are expanding your voting locations, you're expanding the staff, you're expanding their money, you're increasing the problem. That's where the problem happened. More is better is, the idea. What about the pre-election solutions? Who's testing these equipments? Who's looking at whether you're in compliance legally and analyzing, troubleshooting every part of these voting locations? What went wrong, and are we addressing them so we don't have more problems? Again, it's troubleshooting. It's a breakdown of a system. Right now, it seems like you guys just, approve money and, do oversight. What you need to, I'm asking you to look at this as a system and give oversight before we have a problem. Did we ever approve that? And also, I just want to appeal to all of you guys, because you're here because you love this state, most of you, or this city. You have to help us fix this immigration problem. The homeless thing and all that. Am I out of time? No, I have 52 more minutes. Good. You're here because you care. You have to be. And again, look at the details of these homeless people and what you're doing with these illegals. Why is there details in there about helping people with transgender and gender, and nothing in there about making sure these kids are being taken care of? Are they, where is the system for if a kid is being abused, or if he's saying these aren't my parents? You guys can add that. You can add line items into this and set up something to help take care of these kids, because you must care about it. I'm probably closer to an immigrant than most of you. And you can fix our roads. What did we get named? The worst pedestrian walkways in the state. Today I saw that on the news. And we're not fixing any of our roads. So thank you.
Keith Van Heineken, followed by Marion Chandler and Janet Neustedler. And Janet will be our last speaker.
Good morning, Tucson. My name is Keith Van Heinigen, and I'm here to be a highly paid court jester. Or I'm hanging out with the drunks down at the gem show, which is quite lovely. Yes, we need to build us a big, beautiful jail because we need it. If you've ever dealt with the homeless, the criminal element, they're not very nice people. I know that over the last quarter century I've lived here, it's been a cartel superhighway for illegal aliens, drugs, you name it, and the Democrats who run the show do nothing about it. It's funny how that works. 78 out of 84 out of those years, Democrats ran the show. Looks like a donut. Those DOSD scores, they also illustrate that. Catholic NGOs are evil. Our roads have failed because of Democrats. We have high taxes and gonna get more because of Democrats. We got poverty because of Democrats. We got no trust because of Democrats. It's not because of the one Republican. PopCam is the Open Borders Kill America movement. That is exactly what President Joe Biden and the Democrat Party are doing by policy right now. You can call it all you want to be a rose, but it smells like a bunch of caca to me. Right now, we have a bare minimum of 30 million illegal alien invaders inside of our country. It will double every 5 years at this rate. Social Security and Medicaid, Medicare, which you think you might be getting, is gone in under a decade because of Democrat policies. The only face of an elected or an appointed official I want to see in this room next year is Mr. Christie. And by that I mean every last one of you behind me. Every last one in front of me. Your directors, your yayas, your handymen. Have fun with that, you traitors.
Marion Chandler?
Good morning. My name is Marion Chandler, and I recently retired from the county after 16 years. I only felt comfortable coming to you now because of fear retribution, which is alive and well within Pima County. This is part 2 of my call to the audience that I had on January 9th. In addition to the county's employee COVID-19 vaccination policy debacle, Pima County's classification and compensation study implementation was one of the most tumultuous and frustrating times I experienced during my employment with the county. The utter lack of communication and forethought coming from the Human Resources Department was blatantly on display. Regarding the implementation of the class and comp study, it seems as if misinformation, very little information, or no information was given to the department directors by the HR department, which resulted in total confusion among employees. On July 27, 2023, Assistant HR Director said in an email there was a plan to utilize a county-wide entry salary matrix formula to assist the departments with setting new hires' starting rates. When I emailed him on November 1st to inquire as to the status of said matrix, he responded, it has to be approved by the Board of Supervisors. When I asked him when it was going to be on your agenda, never received a reply. However, in a November 14th email, He mentioned using a matrix in calculating an entry salary request that was submitted to his class and compensation group. So, HR class and comp group was using a matrix that had not yet been approved by the Board of Supervisors and to which county departments had no access. Soon after the implementation of the county class and compensation study, it was discovered that over 500 county employees were overpaid for one pay period due to a miscalculation. That money was not clawed back from the employees directly violating Admin Procedure 2224. As a result, on November 1st, it was discovered that another 89 employees were impacted by this code error and were overpaid for 5 pay periods. 44 employees that I know of were overpaid to the tune of over $10,000. Even though Admin Procedure 2224 specifically says any overpayments would be deducted, it was decided not to collect that money. Again, a direct violation of county admin procedure.
And Janet is our last speaker. If anyone else wishes to submit a request, please do so. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm Janet Newstetter from LD18, and I wanted to say I reflect the basically what you've heard before. So I travel. My mother's elderly. She lives in California. I'm at the airport, and I see a row of about 15 children. Same shoes, same jeans, same backpacks. They're all in the front of the plane. They're going to be boarded first. They have 2 caregivers with them. They're all maybe 12 to 15. Where's their parents? They have all these kids in masks because they want to make sure that their identity is saved. The kids are looking down. These are all immigrants. They're all being taken to God knows where to do God knows what, with 2 people taking care of all of them. So I come to you with the same voices as my compadres here. What are you going to do about it? Let's put $6 million more because we want to keep funding the problem. We're going to just keep shoving money down the throat of a problem. Where is the solution to the problem? We cannot keep a blind eye to this. Y'all are going to go down in history as the people that created the problem. Do what's right. Say no to the madness.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the call to the public and ask if my colleagues wish to ask staff to review a matter which to ask that an item be put on a future agenda or respond to a criticism.
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Christie.
Yes, 2 items. I would ask that Ms. Rebecca Ruth, regarding the solar panel issue, to have staff look at her situation and analyze the condition and give a response to her as far as the questions she raised during her moment. And then I would like the HR department and the accounting department that is in charge of this new pay plan address the concerns that were raised by our last speaker, and to try to make some sense out of the situation that was explained by the speaker. And I'd like to see that that response distributed to the board.
Thank you. Any other? No? Okay, thank you. Thank you all for coming for the call to the audience. Now we're going to go to item 13. And that is election worker compensation rates. Do we want to take a couple minutes and let people filter out? No? Okay, we'll get started then. So item number 13, Administrator Lesher.
Chair Grijalva, we do have Election Director Constance Hargrove is here to provide an overview and or answer any questions you
Wonderful. Thank you, Director Hargrove.
Good morning, Chair Grijalva, members of the board.
Administrator Lesher. I am before you today asking for an increase for poll workers. We did a one-time pay increase of $75 for the poll workers in 2022. This will make it a permanent increase for the poll workers. And each poll worker will receive $75. There's a chart attached that goes through each poll worker's pay amount. The judges, if you see the judges, they have two different pay amounts. That was because the judges one of those judges was considered a traveling judge, and that judge would go with the inspector to the receiving station to return the ballots and materials, and that's why there are two different rates there. The marshal now goes with the inspector to return those items, which is why that increase is a little bit more. So the marshal was at $155. We're going to add an additional $15, which would bring them up to what the judge was being paid, and then add the $75 on top of that, which gives you the $90 increase. So the poll workers have not had an increase since 2018. So this is a minimum amount actually to get them where they need to be, in addition to all the work that they now are required to do. The other workers you see here, this is really for transparency and information, because we did not set these rates. I did not set these rates. These rates were set before I actually arrived at the county. I'm not asking for an increase. I'm just memorializing them here so that you are aware and the public is aware of what we're actually paying the other workers and the actually the hand count audit board. I'm also asking that instead of this being approved in an ordinance with the fees, that it be approved in my budget request. So of course, it will not be that often. It's not, the poll workers would not receive an increase that often. This is allowed in the elections procedures manual, but the board will still have to approve it. Election cost in my budget is always separate. So it's not a part of my base budget. It's separate. So this will be visible each time I would request an increase. And that, with that, do you have any questions for me?
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Christie.
Yep. Ms. Hargrove, could you address, I'm a little confused, or it's not very clear to me, this issue, and we've heard it raised during call of the public about Pima County employees that are already being paid and now they're going to be getting a raise even though they're on the payroll for Pima County already. Could you lend some clarity to that situation?
So Chair Grahova, Supervisor Christie, no, they're not getting an increase. When county employees work for elections, they get a set fee just like everyone else. So they're not getting paid their salary in addition to the stipend that they receive when they work on election day. They're only receiving the stipend. And it was explained to me that the rates are different for county employees because at some point finance adjusted it because taxes get taken out of their checks. So trying to make it equitable to what the other workers were making, they increased the amount that county employees made to accommodate for any taxes that would be taken out of their checks.
So
but they're not getting a raise or an increase.
Okay. So, Madam Chair, they're actually being utilized in a manner that doesn't even take into consideration that they're county employees.
Chair Grahova, Supervisor Christie, in some respects, I would probably say yes, that is true.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? Supervisor Lee.
Thank you, Chair Grahava. Ms. Hargrove, regarding that, as I look at the county employee rate, and thank you for including that because I think it's good for us to see that. It just seems to me that, and I could, because I don't know, that it should be more equalized or in parity, because if they are And I understand the taxes are, but that's a quite a bit difference if it really is a tax issue. So I would just urge Administrator Lesher and Ms. Hargrove to take a look at that as far as parity goes. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. And now we're on to item 35. And this is the acceptance of a grant for Arizona Law Enforcement Canine Association to provide the donation of equipment, dual purpose for canine police. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Did you want to address the item at all, or you're just here for questions? Please. Okay, any questions? Do you want to come up to the mic? Just because I think, thank you.
I was just here.
I know, but I think it's good for people to understand.
Alika Arizona Law Enforcement Canine Association is an association here in Arizona and basically southwest of the region here. They get together with canine handlers and trainers. That's what the association's filled of, and assist agencies around the state to educate and train and help agencies that already have canine units and are looking to start some. They work very, very well with the community as well, and they had donations given to them, and they wanted to give us a donation to replace Kenzo, who was killed in the line of duty.
Thank you.
So we appreciate them being heroic and absolutely coming to aid the department as well as all the other agencies in the state. This is not the first time they've done that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and thank you so much for being here. Do we have any questions? All right. Did I do a motion in a second? Yes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed. Item passes unanimously. Thank you so
very much, Board. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Now we'll go back to the agenda. As a reminder, we're going to have an executive session at 11. And so we're on Board of Supervisors sitting as other boards. Flood Control District Board, item 6. This is the non-bonds fund project. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed. Item passes unanimously. Stadium District Board, item number 7. This is an amendment to an award. This item is the same as item number 19. So that is also a master agreement award. It's just and the funding source is the same. Administrator Lesher, can you explain the 7 and 19 and why they're the same and not on the same item?
Chair Grijalva, we have a master agreement with Standbach Septic Services. They provide portable septic facilities to a variety of county facilities and needs. Some of the funding that has been noted is through the Stadium District. We do porta-johns for many events that are taking place out at Keno Sports Park during some of the higher capacity, the events with more attendees and need that. We are using that master operating agreement in order to expand the facilities at the Drexel location. That's why there's 2 funding sources. The specifics related to expansion today is to provide for the additional facilities and the additional septic services at Drexel. But it is part of that master operating agreement that provides funding to a variety of parts of the county.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Christie.
Why are ARPA funds being used in this manner and commingling in both of these items with the Keno taxing district?
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, while the master agreement covers the variety of reasons for which the septic services can be utilized, different funding sources can pay for the utilization of that contract or the drawing down of the contract for different services. So ARPA funds are being used as it relates to the Drexel facilities. We can also utilize the funds coming from the Stadium District, for example, as a separate taxing district when used at Keno.
And Madam Chair, I should say FEMA funds, right?
Yes, sir.
FEMA, not ARPA.
They are Let me get clear. I
American-
believe they are ARPA funds,
Yeah,
not they are the American Rescue Plan Act funds.
Deputy County Administrator Holmes?
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, when the board approved the purchase of Drexel out of ARPA funds, there were a set of funds that were specifically approved for improvements there for the Drexel. So there was a $4.1 million approval, out of which about 3.2 was used for the purchase of the Drexel and the other for improvements of facilities, to include the restrooms as well.
So what has this got to do with the Keno Stadium District?
Administrator
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, it is under a master agreement that can be used by the stadium district. We are allocating the funds. We are requesting an increase in that master agreement awarded to be used specifically for the Drexel facility under ARPA. This allows us to make sure that we do bifurcate and isolate funding sources for specific purposes and reasons.
So, Administrator Lesher, so we're increasing the amount of the master agreement because of the utilization at the Drexel facility. Like because we're drawing from this agreement for other things other than the stadium district.
Thank
you. And so the facilities, when we put these septic services out at Drexel, that's coming out of the American Rescue Plan.
That's
funding.
correct.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Christie.
Could we have an idea of what the difference in costs for both facilities are for these items?
Administrator Lesher.
Since they are being kept separate, as you stated.
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, if you're asking for the full breakdown of the entirety of the contract up to the $800,000, where it was spent, where we utilized the services, and under what fund, we'd be happy to provide that to you.
Madam Chair, I would suggest that we continue this until we get that breakdown. I don't feel comfortable of supplying any taxpayer funds to encourage the Drexel facilities improvements. And I'm usually not all that much of a fan of the Keno Sports Complex, but I could very well be encouraged to support the product there, because you got to have hygiene issues. But I do have a problem with that. If you're saying it's not commingled and it's
It is not
separated,
commingled, sir. Chair Grijalva and Supervisor Christie.
not knowing the amount, I don't have a support feeling for that.
Chair Grijalva, if I may, Supervisor Christie, the $150,000 that we are looking for today to increase, is the additional amount that we would be using specifically for Drexel. If you wanted us to go back and look at how the contract has been used since it was initially let, how much went to the stadium district and paid by those dollars versus the allocation to Drexel, happy to provide that historically, but for the purposes of what you're being asked today, it's the $150,000 for the Drexel facility.
And Madam Chair, there would be no way to, as the county administrator says, to bifurcate those amounts so we could vote for one and not the other?
I'm not hearing that. Administrator Lesher.
Chair Grijalva, Deputy County Administrator Holmes, can you help us provide clarity? What will it do? Does it provide any slowdown or concerns at the stadium district if we vote simply for the portion related to ARPA?
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, Ms. Lesher. Specifically in this case, the $150,000 is an increase of the contract for both facilities. So that is accurate. The ARPA portion of that is stated here in the boss air. We can provide more detail definitely for you. I don't have a complete breakdown in front of us right now, but we can provide that. But it is an increase for both those facilities as well.
Okay.
We're happy to come back.
Madam Chair,
I think.
Question, why isn't Catholic Community Services contracting for the items at the Drexel facility, since they're the operators? Why is the county?
Administrator Lesher.
Chair Grijalva and Supervisor Christie, as our contract with Catholic Community Services operates that facility. They provide some of the ongoing services. Under that lease, the county provides for the operations and maintenance of the site. So again, it's been mentioned when the 4.1 million out of ARPA was designated by the board to help with the purchase of that facility, that some of those dollars exist to provide for the maintenance and care at the location. So it has not been part of what we pay Catholic Community Services. We are funding those facilities directly. The maintenance.
What's the pleasure of the board? I've heard from Supervisor Christie.
I'd like
Supervisor
to vote.
Lee. You'd like to?
Chair Grahava, I'd like to vote.
So would you like to move the item? No, you move it and I'll second.
I'll move the item.
Okay, and I'll second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, item passes 4-1. And then I just want to make sure we're all clear that we were voting for number 7 and 9 together. Is that, okay. I'm sorry, 19. Yes, you're correct. Yes, 7 and 19. Okay, so that was 4-1. Thank you. Now we're sitting as the Board of Supervisors. Approval of the consent calendar. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Motion is second by Supervisor Scott. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously.
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Christie.
may I suggest that under County Attorney, that the board addresses 9, 10, 11, 12 together?
Yes, I was going to do that. Thank you. So do you want to move those?
So move.
I'll second. Have a motion, a second, to move item 9 through 12 together. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Items pass unanimously. And we've already addressed item 13. Now we're on 14, class and compensation. This is the HR department requests approval to create the following new classification, Director of Office Digital Inclusion. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion?
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Christie.
If you look at the background under this item, I have a couple of questions. Fiscal impact, it states that that the county has any additional costs incurred in hiring a position allocated to this classification will be borne by the department within its current budgets. What's the budget and what's the department?
Administrator Lesher.
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, it is the Office of Digital Inclusion. We have been reporting to the board on that. We received $25 million grant, $25 million grant to work on our broadband services. And what we have been doing is had a unit within the library department. We have been breaking that out. We wish to make it a separate department that will come in a final version to the board under the new budget. But what this is looking at is allowing us to take the position of an individual who has heretofore been in the library department and actually move that position open and just clean up so that there is a position for the director of that office, excuse me, as there are for the other directors. The final packaging and approval of that, the movement into the department occurs with the budget approval.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, Ms. Lesher, what's the difference between an office and a department?
Administrator Lesher.
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, technically and within the budget, there is none. We have called some in office.
But it's very clear that there's an office.
We have one. It is not, I think part of it is for clarity, if you will, that in an office, we have a couple of these offices that are small. They may be managing large amounts of money, but I think when you think of a director of wastewater or library, there are hundreds of employees involved. And we do have the office that is simply has been created and is working to deal with a grant. If it is the pleasure of the board, we're happy to change all of these to directors and to departments. But
Well, I just wanted to hear an explanation, which is fine. And I am supportive of the program because there's underserved and outlying areas that are not getting the digital service that they need. It's just interesting, the use of terminology of between a budget and the department, and difference between office and department just isn't very clear, concise.
Okay, well, Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, how about we're happy to provide a report that shows what are the offices and how they have been functioning historically versus the departments historically and what we might be proposing into a new budget year to provide clarity to you and the public.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'll go ahead and move the item. Oh, we had it. Motion and second with Supervisor Scott. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Now we're on contract and award. Behavioral. Okay. Item number 15, Arizona Cost Care Containment System for inmate hospitalization to amend contract language to no cost. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
A motion and second by Supervisor Scott. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passed unanimously. Item number 16, this is to provide legal representation for the Pima County Sheriff Department and some sergeants and deputy regarding the Bradley Lewis matter. And what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll move the item.
Okay, Supervisor Scott move the item.
Second.
And I have a second by Supervisor Lee. Any discussion?
Yeah. Madam Chair.
Supervisor
Chair
Scott.
Could we get an update from Mr. Brown on this matter? Perhaps updating us as to why it was necessary to get outside counsel and any other updates he would like to share.
Thank you.
Chair
Mr. Brown.
Grijalvo, Supervisor Scott, Pima County Attorney's Office investigated this incident. And because of that reason, we sent this to outside counsel a couple of years ago. And it's coming to you today because it's hit the amount that we've spent, it's hit the procurement limit, which now requires board approval to increase. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, I have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number 17, this is a CBS consulting group to provide professional grant writing services for anti-racketeering under the county attorney's office. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. We are at an item number 18, and there are related items to this one. And so I'm wondering if we can move item 18, 21, 31 from the regular agenda, and then addendum number 4 through 9. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I'll go ahead and read generally what they are. This is, item number 18 is Catholic Community Services to provide a cooperative agreement for humanitarian services. And then item 21, this is extending the contract with AAA cab service, no additional funds, just extending the contract. And this is to provide transportation services for asylum seekers. Item number 31 is acceptance of grant. And this is the funding that was taken away and then awarded to Pima County from FEMA for $5.2 million. And this is our Southern Arizona delegation, representatives and senators advocated for this. And that is item number 31. And then we go to addendum number 4. This is Catholic Community Services to provide the shelter and services program. This is SSP funding, $1.2 million. Item number 5, Catholic Community Services. This is from Emergency Food and Shelter, and this is roughly $775,000. Item number 6 is Food and Shelter for Hotels and Transportation for the City of Tucson. This is FEMA funding, and again, this is all accepting of contracts and awards. Item number 7 is SSP funding for the City of Tucson. And then item number 8 is Catholic Community Services to provide emergency food and shelter. And then item number 9 is the City of Tucson to provide emergency food and shelter. So all of these are related to asylum seeker services, which is why I suggested we put them all together. So I'll go ahead and move all of those items.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Christie.
I think it was a good idea to put them all together because they all have a common thread. I have a number of questions regarding these grants. it does say in one of the backgrounds that, well, first of all, one of the issues that I'm confused a little bit about is all the different funding sources. There's the Directorate Fund, the Phase HR 22 Fund. What is the Directorate Fund and HR 22 Fund?
Administrator Lesher.
Thank you. Chair Grijalva and Supervisor Christie, there are three different federal funding sources that are covering the different costs incurred by Pima County and our partners. One is the FEMA Emergency Food and Shelter Program, Phase HR 22. And it's administrated through the FEMA National Board. There is the FEMA Emergency Food and Shelter Program, Phase HR 23, so we had different years at that time, and then fiscal year 2023 Shelter and Services Program, which is, you'll see on this is SSP. It is administered jointly by the FEMA Grants Directorate, is what they call it, in the Department, under Homeland Security in the Department of FEMA, there is a division called the Grants Directorate. So it's the Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, Emergency Food Shelter Program that is operated by the Grants Directorate and sometimes assisted with Customs and Border Protection. So it is, it can be confusing. Those are the three funding sources that are before you today.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Christie.
Perhaps you can enlighten me with what the difference is between legally processed asylum seekers versus non-citizen migrants. What's the difference?
Administrator Lesher.
What we have, Chair Grijalva and Supervisor Christie, I don't know exactly where you're reading to clarify that. What we have been doing at the program and what this board has been supporting is always what we have reflected dealing with illegal asylum seekers coming to us. Again, no one from Pima County and none of our partners make a determination about whether that person is here legally or not. They are brought to us by Customs and Border Protection, and it is CBP's responsibility. They are the ones who have made the determination about their the legal asylum seeking status of that individual, and they're the ones brought to us. So you see us regularly using the word legal asylum seeker. I'm not sure in what context the other might have occurred, if you can help me.
Supervisor Christie.
Madam Chair, since we put it all in the same bundle here, it's be too difficult to perk it out, but I know that I've brought both those terminologies out here because I read them back here. The other issue that we're finding here is that I don't think the public is aware of. We were always led to believe that in order to seek legal asylum, you had to have a sponsor and that somebody was going to pay for your transportation. And clearly this is not the case. In addition to providing shelter and hotel rooms with these funds, at the Best Western, Quality Inn Airport, Ramada, Las Palmas, Quality Inn Star Pass. We are also paying taxpayer money with the facilitation of a service provider to service provider transportation of eligible non-citizen migrants, there's the term, non-citizen migrants, to Tucson International Airport through the City SunTran bus service. So obviously they don't have to worry about fares at the City of Tucson because the bus service is being subsidized by this transport grant. The other thing that there's a common thread through all of these is the amount of airline tickets that taxpayers are paying for, as opposed to a sponsor or an NGO. The taxpayers are paying for this. And in some of the background here, there's 335 tickets being purchased in one tranche and another 700 and some in another. To me, that seems like not a lot of what we're experiencing as far as people utilizing air service. But it was always understood that taxpayers weren't paying for that.
Administrator Lesher.
pardon me, Chair Grijalva and Supervisor Christie, I'm going to ask Dr. Garcia on some of the specificity of this. I can tell you that, again, when the individuals are brought to us by Customs and Border Protection, part of the determination made by CBP is that the folks do have a sponsor. When you look at the numbers that are in excess of 1,000 a day coming through, you can see that the number of tickets that are being bought in some occasions is very small, but there are reasons why that is being done and sometimes. And I would ask Dr. Garcia to assist with that one.
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, Administrator Lesher, the administrator is absolutely correct. In the vast majority of time, greater than 96% of the asylum seekers are reaching their final destination on their own. We have, on occasion, on a relatively de minimis amount, have facilitated air travel, especially when there are slightly larger groups. That is a family of 5, for instance, because it's easier for us to do that than for the individual to buy 5 individual tickets. Again, this is a rarity and not the standard operating procedure. In every occasion, the federal partner that has brought these asylum seekers to our facilities for the care of our operator has identified a destination and a sponsor. That is something that they have done on their side of the house. But yes, on occasion, we do facilitate some tickets when it means that we can get people out faster rather than taking up bed space.
At taxpayer expense.
At FEMA expense as underwritten by the taxpayers.
And any other questions?
Yes,
Supervisor
regarding number 21, the AAA cab service that's providing for short-distance transportation services for asylum seekers. To date, we're looking at $1.7 million over 2.5 years of utilization of a cab service to transport asylum seekers. What is the role of Pima County employees? Because it's the administrating department under 21 is Fleet Services, a Pima County department. What is the role of Pima County employees and how are they getting paid?
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, we do have an individual working with Fleet Services and Emergency Management paid out of the federal dollars to coordinate that transportation. If I may, Dr. Garcia may have more specificity about it, but that individual does assist with the coordination, is paid by the federal, the program dollars that are under the contract. So, sorry. Dr. Garcia.
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, nothing to add to the administrator's comments. We do have a transportation coordinator who doesn't just deal with the cabs, deals with the long haul transportation, deals with the state DEMA partners, and deals with our humanitarian partners and does transportation coordination essentially. That salary is underwritten with federal contract dollars.
And Madam Chair, Dr. Garcia, this individual strictly deals with asylum seekers.
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, you are absolutely correct. This individual was hired precisely to do the role of transportation coordination in response to the southwest border issue.
And Madam Chair, another question regarding AAA cab services. Why aren't they dealing directly with Catholic Community Services in the same manner as World Dining deals with Catholic Community Services?
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, you'll see that a variety of vendors are actually the vendors of the county. And we do that on occasion when we are able to achieve better rates for those services. In general, we have done the bulk of the transportation coordination. That is that the Office of Emergency Management, the Southwest Border team has done the bulk of that management, and therefore it made sense for us to have that contract.
I see. And Madam Chair, one final note that I noticed in this similar thread going through all of this. we always hear of all the volunteers at Drexel and the Casa Solias Welcoming Center. But then you look at the reimbursement that is going to Catholic Community Services for employees and staff, and we've got some very highly technical staffers that are being reimbursed that obviously could not be considered volunteers by the amount of money they're being paid. 6 staff at a rate of 8 hours per day, and all of the items along with that go with health insurance and things of this nature. It's the presentation is that this is all a very volunteer-driven type of a system, but in reality, the grant amounts that Catholic Community Services are going, the bulk of them are going to hire employees and very technical computer analysts, managers of other functions in there. So this really is it's an eye opener of where our money is going, but nonetheless, it's been going this way since 2019. And I'm curious, what in these packages that we bundled together for consideration, what's the total dollar amount we're going to be addressing?
Added that up. Hold on. I have it.
Well, 1.3 plus 774,273 million. Have you got the total on?
13,319,186. Does that sound? Yes.
13 million?
Yes.
And
actually, if I may, excuse me, Chair Grijalva, I think the 5,000 is monies that we've received.
Or the 5 million.
I'm sorry, the 5 million is monies we've received. The expenditures then take the 5.
I see what you're saying.
8 million.
Okay.
100,000-ish.
And Madam Chair, just one other question that I'll end with. In my business, in the dealership, I always charge an administration fee to the departments that were for administration, but it was basically a way to make sure that the dealership got its share of the revenue before commissions were established with the individual departments. Won't go into the details, but they were all charged an administration fee. Is Pima County, does it charge an administration fee on these grants at all?
Administrator
Chair
Lesher.
Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, we are able to charge a fee on some, but not all. Let me get a breakdown too of all of our grants and those for which we have the administrative fee.
And where does that income go?
It is in the Grants Management and Innovation Department, and then allocated, decreasing the cost that some of the departments pay then to GMI. Again, it'll be reflected when you see this year's budget.
So, Madam Chair, Pima County receives economic benefit from these grants as well.
I would say Pima County receives dollars that pay for the individuals who might be working on this.
On the project.
It's not a profit center.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. We have a motion and a second. I thought I saw. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Item passes 3-1. Items pass. Wait. Hang on. Is that Supervisor Hines? Did you want to vote on this item because we just voted?
Sure. I'll vote
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So then those items pass 4-1. Thank you. All right. Now we're on item number 20. This is an amendment of an award. This is for natural resources and parks, no additional funds. And it's specialized parks and rec classes. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed. Item passed unanimously. We've addressed 21. Now we're on 22. This is an amendment of an award, Tucson Audubon Society, Recon Environmental and Environmental Systems Management to provide invasive plant inventory and treatment. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion and a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number 23, this is Aetna Life Insurance Company, Aetna Behavioral Health, third-party administrator for human resources. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. 24, Irigo Software Technologies for non-bond project fund. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
A motion and a second. Supervisor Scott, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. This is resolution number 2024-8. The Board of Supervisors conveyance of Pima County property situated at within Section 11, T14S, R13E, G and SRM, Pima County, Arizona, to Pima County Community Land Trust for $375,000. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
A motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. Supervisor Christie.
Background on this, it says that certain statutes,
Is your mic on?
under certain statutes, the NGO has the right to purchase it at a reduced rate off of the appraisal. My question, and also that the board has to be unanimous in its vote, otherwise it'll go to auction. Would it not be more beneficial for Pima County to get the possibility of the highest and best amount of money for it at auction?
Administrator Lesher.
Chair Grijalva and Supervisor Christie, the history of this property has been that the board and the county purchased the property and has leased it to the organization that was in the building, that has been the operator to whom we would now be selling the building. Historically, the Board of Supervisors has believed that the highest and best use in that location, immediately adjacent to the Baco facility, neighboring on a neighborhood, that the highest and best use has been allowing it to be used by the Pima County Community Land Trust. That's why we brought it forward in this manner.
And the properties is located at 17 North Linda Vista Avenue. Any other questions?
So, just to reiterate, there's not a chance that it could bring more at auction than what you're selling it for now?
Administrator Lesher.
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, it is possible that it could bring more at auction than we would be getting by the sale to the current occupants.
How long have the current occupants been there? Administrator Lesher.
Chair Grijalva, I'm going to say 7, 8 years. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to remember when we'd purchased that program. So I'm looking at the back. Everybody's Googling.
Yeah, I know.
My apologies.
I
don't
feel
have
like
that
I want to say 7, but
Madam,
7, 8 years. It was
Madam Chair,
Deputy County Administrator.
Madam Chair, County Administrator Lesher, they've been the tenant in the building since 2018.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? So I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Thank you. Excuse me. Item 20. Do we want to take any together? No, never mind. It's a little more complicated. 26, Rocking K Master Association. This is an agreement for new entryway monuments and theme walls within county rights-of-way and to amend the contract language. This will allow Rocking K to add more signs to identify monuments and theme walls. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed. Item passed unanimously. Item 27, the City of Tucson to provide an IGA for Valencia Road between Kolb and Houghton. And this is impact fees. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed. Item passed unanimously. 28 is the State of Arizona to provide an IGA, this is intergovernmental agreement, to construct traffic interchanges between Country Club Road and Keno Parkway. This is General Fund PAYGO. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion and a second by Supervisor Scott. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, Supervisor Christie.
Could I was getting to the background. May I ask a couple of questions before the vote?
Please, go ahead.
Is this item the tunnel underneath I-10?
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, yes.
And we're using PAYGO funds for this?
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, I'm going to ask Mr. DeBonis to speak to that. Yes, it has been targeted for the use of PAYGO. What we're doing is moving it up because ADOT is going to be doing their construction earlier. Makes a lot of sense for us to get in the same cycle with ADOT as we're looking at that specific piece, but it has been ADOT. And Mr. DeBonis, if you would, please.
Madam Chair, Supervisor Christie, what the county administrator indicated is correct. So ADOT was going to be doing improvements to I-10 and the traffic interchanges at Country Club and Keno as separate projects, but they have now combined and accelerated that project, and it includes that stretch that would have the underpass, so the I-10 underpass. And because they are moving forward with that project, it is more cost effective for the county to construct now or have ADOT construct that now, and we are able to utilize PAYGO funds that would otherwise go unspent this fiscal year to go ahead and advance that project.
And Madam Chair, to be clear, this is is it a vehicle underpass or a pedestrian underpass under I-10 from the lot on the south side of I-10 to the Keno Sport Complex?
Right, Madam Chair, Supervisor Christie, it will be a controlled access underpass that will accommodate vehicle access, pedestrian access, bicycle access during events at the Keno Complex. So when you look at some of the larger events that take place there, such as the Fort Lowell Shootout, they use fields on the main campus, which is between I-10 and Ajo, the campus that is the north campus, north of Ajo, as well as the south campus. So this would facilitate movement of the attendees at the facility between those different portions of the complex, but it would not be open for general usage when there are not events taking place. Our Keno staff would control the opening of the gates and the flow of pedestrians, vehicles, bicycles, equipment through those different portions between the main campus north of I-10 and the south campus immediately.
Under I-10.
That's correct.
Any other questions? All right, I have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
No.
Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no. This we have addressed. Oh, item number 29, this is a grant acceptance for Community Workforce Development, Arizona Department of Housing to provide Homeless and Shelter Services Fund. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion and a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion?
Chair Grijalva.
Supervisor Scott.
I'd like to direct the attention of my colleagues to the memorandum from County Administrator Lesher that's attached to this item dated February 2nd. And she attached to her memorandum one from Mr. Sullivan with Community and Workforce Development. If you go down to the section of his memorandum that says program background, the fourth paragraph in that section says, most clients are referred to the program directly from constables. However, staff also work closely with jurisdictional and community partners, especially in the City of Tucson Housing First Team, to both accept in and refer out clients based on proper program fit. Through fiscal year 2023, the EELS Emergency Housing Program has served 260 households, 761 individuals, 85% of which have exited the program to positive housing destinations. This last sentence describes one type of homeless individual. People who are temporarily homeless because they probably just dealt with an eviction, and this program helps take care of them until they're able to get into permanent housing. What I'd like to request by way of direction is a report to the board on the overall need for all types of shelter in the county for different types of homelessness. And that could be a role for the Office of the Housing Opportunities and Homeless Solutions. If I looked at the memorandum that we got from Ms. Lesher on December 22nd that outlined the creation of that office is developing a strategic and continuous improvement plan. I'd like to request that the board get a breakdown of what are the shelter needs for different segments of the homeless population, because I don't know that we have a complete sense of the total need, especially if it's broken out by different segments of the homeless population.
Madam Chair?
Thank you. Supervisor.
Maybe in that report, we could get some clarity on some other items too. So this is a city-owned building that the county is leasing. Is that correct? And
Administrator Lesher, study.
Thank you. Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, Dr. Garcia has the specifics on that agreement. Thank you.
Indeed, this particular facility is owned by the city, but essentially operated by the county.
And Madam Chair, Dr. Garcia, who's paying for the improvements?
Some of the improvements are on the city side, on the landlord side. Some of the improvements are on the side of the of us, of the operator. The city, for instance, has done all the renovations and continues to build out some of the interior spaces. We are responsible for some of the other minor improvements, including gate that is mentioned as part of this agreement.
And Madam Chair, this was part of the Emergency Eviction Legal Services, the EELS. I'd just like to point out that this is institutionalizing a COVID-era program that should just go away. The emergency is over, and it's an example of how federal programs or local state programs of this nature tend to take on a life of their own. We're just continuing something that really has ended and should go away. And finally, the one thing that I'm questioning, it seems like it's overstepping, but in the background, it says, to date, staff have not received a draft of that agreement. In order to ensure timely provision of services, the requested approval of this grant includes requested delegation of authority to the chair of the Board of Supervisors to execute the funding agreement when finalized and approved by Grants Management and the Pima County Attorney's Office. When have we ever had a delegation of authority to the chair of Board of Supervisors in such a manner as this? That seems highly irregular and strange.
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, again, Dr. Garcia, if you'd like to explain the timing on this grant. Thank you.
Sure. The rationale for that statement has to do with the timing that the State of Arizona Department of Housing is moving these documents. And so we thought it was in the best interest of the county to bring this forward for board consideration and approval as soon as possible. The final document, the final contract is not yet in our hands as of the last time I touched this issue, which was the end of last week. This would allow the board chair executing the wish of the board, should you approve this contract, by allowing her to sign that.
So just to clarify, it's a timing issue. We're voting on the item now, but I would be signing it if the contract were available. Like the clerk would give it to me right now, but since it's not, I'll be signing it at a later date, but provided that we've approved the item.
Chair
I'm not going to
Grijalva,
vote.
that was our recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Does that clarify that?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
Chair Grijalva.
Supervisor Scott.
We got into some new ground. I just wanted to, follow up with the county administrator and make sure that it was clear what I was requesting in terms of follow-up. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, I believe I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no. Item number 30 is the acceptance of the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family to provide the Arizona STOP Stop Violence Against Women grant. And this is a match that the state is going to provide a portion, and then or the governor's office will provide a portion, the county is going to as well. This will hire more victim advocate staffs, 2.5 FTE, I believe. All right, so I have a motion and a second. Oh, I'm sorry, I have a motion. I'll move it.
Second.
Have a second by Supervisor Scott. Any discussion?
Chair Grijalva.
Supervisor Scott.
Just wanted to ask Mr. Brown, and if this is something you need to look into, Mr. Brown, just tell me. But early in our term, there were some concerns that were shared with the board, I think out of both Marana and Green Valley, about victims advocates not being available in those areas and had been before. Will this grant address any of those areas?
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Scott, I do not know the answer to that, but we can get that for you.
Thank you very much.
You got it.
Any other questions? All right, I have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no. We've addressed 31. We have 32, acceptance of a grant from the Department of Health and Human Services to provide spring initiative for equitable and healthy community.
Madam Chair.
I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
A motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Supervisor Christie.
I'm sorry to do this. I was getting confused in the head on, we just voted on 30.
Correct.
And may I change my vote to a yes?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, so for item 30, it is now 5-0, unanimous. Thank you. All right, item number 32. Questions?
Chair
31.
Oh, we already did 31.
We did 31.
And how did I vote on that?
You voted no.
Okay, thank you.
That was the group of them for asylum seeker services.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay.
That was already done. That was
Okay,
already.
Supervisor Scott.
Chair Grijalva, in the BOS there is under metrics available to measure performance, Pima County Health Department will develop an evaluation plan with performance measures in spring 2024, and then it lists the anticipated outcomes. Given that this is supposed to help address staffing issues within the health department, I'd like to request that the board get a copy of that evaluation plan and that we get updates on the plan as we go through this. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number 33 is to Arizona Department of Health Services to provide Well Woman Health Check Program to amend a contract $20,000 for breast and cervical cancer screenings. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion and a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number 34 is a U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance to provide fiscal year 2022 collaborative crisis response and intervention training program. This is a no cost, but the delay in adjusting, it's just to get people trained and hired. So I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no. And we've addressed item number 35. Now we'll go on to the addendum. Oh, where's 36? Oh, it's at the bottom. I'm sorry. Okay. This is a hearing for item number 36. It's fireworks permit for Caterpillar Inc. in Green Valley. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of this item? Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and move approval for item 36. I have a second from Supervisor Scott. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes. Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Hines voting no. Okay, now we're done with the agenda and we'll move on to the addendum. Oh, yay. Oh my gosh, that timing. So now I'd like to have a motion to go into executive session to address addendum. I'm sorry. That was good timing though, right? Come on. All right. So executive session item number 1 for legal advice and direction regarding the construction dispute on 8702 East Broadway. And then item number 2, legal advice and direction regarding an update on the Lewis Taylor case with outside counsel. So I'll go ahead and
So
move.
moved.
And second, Supervisor Scott seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passed unanimously. We'll be in executive session and return out to vote. We are back in session. Going to addendum number one, executive session. I'll go ahead and move that we proceed as discussed in executive session.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Supervisor Scott. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number 2, there is a correction to the item. It should read, legal advice direction regarding an update on the Lewis Taylor civil case with outside counsel. So if we can update that. And then for the motion, we'd proceed as discussed in executive session as recommended by outside counsel. And I'll go ahead and move that.
Second.
Motion a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Now we're on item 3. This is a Board of Supervisors representative updates on boards, committees, and commissions. This is to create a standing Board of Supervisors regular agenda item providing for board members' reports on the county pertinent activities and actions of entities for which they represent the board, including Arizona Border Counties Coalition, County Supervisors Association, PAG-RTA, Sun Corridor, Visit Tucson, Pima County Health Department or Pima County Board of Health and Metropolitan Education Commission. And then as I wrote this, I also think that for those of us that represent other municipalities like South Tucson, Oro Valley, Marana, Green Valley, if you wanted to provide an update on anything that's pertinent to what's going on in Pima County or just give a community update, I think that this would be an appropriate time to do that as well. So I put this item on the agenda. We can discuss or move it. What would you like?
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Christie.
Yeah, I understand the motive for putting on. Board meetings are long enough, and sometimes, I don't know if you notice it or not, but board members rather can be loquacious.
That's correct.
And this kind of gives an opportunity for that loquacious tendency. And I'm thinking if we could maybe put some kind of a time limit on each one, like call to the public, like a 3-minute deal.
Sure.
And also a lot of this information at these various organizations, they have minutes. We can always access those minutes. The board members applicable to these entities can also issue a memorandum to the board. These are a lot of boards, and if you take even 3 minutes for each of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's close to a half an hour.
Right. And depending on the time.
And somebody doesn't have to feel compelled to report.
Correct. If there isn't any significant item, if you haven't had a meeting since the last time we provided an update, I think that makes sense. This would move that we would have this as part of our regular agendas February 20th. But I would say arguably, this is a really important function of our board. I mean, we've all been appointed to these committees, and we don't always get updates until you sort of hear rumblings in the community. And I think that it's important for us to, especially on some of these boards that are very, there's some critical timing happening right now. I think it's important to at least give an update and say, this is what we had happened at the Board of Health, or this is what's going on with MEC. They're having a new executive director. I mean, I've just assumed that they'd be quick updates. But I do
Never assume that with this.
Well, I agree with that. But I do think that it would be.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
It takes away my time to ask questions.
Right. And okay. So I will not provide a comment at all on that one. I just think that if we could, I think it's important for us to have it. The other thing is right now, I'm suggesting every meeting, we could opt after a minute if we get to the item. Right. If we get to the item and there's nothing, it happens often enough that no one has an update, then we can just make it to every month. We could do quarterly. I just think, try it out, see what happens. And I also think that this is part of, shared governance, like being held accountable, not only to the community, but to each other. Because I'm, for myself, I'm representing Pima County on, 2 committees. And I think that it would be good for you all to say, yes or no, or just an update, really. So what do y'all think?
Chair Grijalva?
Yes, Supervisor Scott.
Just to clarify, all 5 of us, as well as every county supervisor in the state, are, just by virtue of being elected, members of the County Supervisors Association. I represent us on the Legislative Policy Committee for the County Supervisors Association that meets every Friday while the legislature is in session to talk about bills that are coming before the legislature that affect counties and whether we're going to oppose, support, or remain neutral on those bills. All of you should be getting the minutes from the Legislative Policy Committee. So I just for that, to go to Supervisor Christie's point, I won't avail myself of an opportunity to update you on LPC unless one of you brings up something from the minutes that you all get.
Okay. Anything else? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put this out as a form of a motion.
I'll second it.
So I have a motion, a second by Supervisor Hines. Any other discussion?
Did
Yes.
you want to modify it to contain the language about like any, for, you know, members?
Sure, any other municipalities. And I think it's only if you feel it's, you know, there's something that you want to report out. But I know that, you know, at least 3 of you go to other meetings, council meetings, stuff like that. All right. So I have yes. And so I'm fine with adding another little bullet there. Any other? All right. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. And so we've addressed items 4 through 9. And now we'll go to board, commission, and or committee. Unless there's a request to take these separate, I'll go ahead and move item 10, 11, and 12. One is the Horse Racing Commission, Fair Horse Racing Commission appointment of Ronnie Reyna. 11 is Regional Wastewater Reclamation Advisory Board, a reappointment of Anne Marie Wolf. And 12 is Public Art and Community Design, appointment of Melissa Brown Dominguez. All right, I'll
Second.
go. Okay, so I moved all those, and Supervisor Scott seconds. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously, and our meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.